Good evening. Good evening, my friends. I don't know how many folks saw the post from earlier saying that I would be on tonight, but I'll wait a little while, see if I can get some folks on. Hey, Faye. Faye, Brother Keith, good evening. Good evening and Happy New Year to you. 2020, huh? Okay. All right, all right. Good to see you all. I pray that everything has been well with you. DJ Cass, what's happening, brother? All righty. Miss Barbara, good evening. Yeah, it's good to see you all. Yeah. We're going to give some folks a few minutes to get online and, to come on live. And going to jump right on in once we get a few more people on. I know I'm not going to be too long tonight because I'm actually sitting out on my back porch and it's a little bit nippy out here this evening. Yeah, a little brisk. Coming from, originally, even though I've been here since 1985. Some of y'all wasn't born then, but hey, I've been here in South Carolina since then, having come from Chicago, experiencing New Year Day winters in Chicago. It's a little different to have this little briskness right here. Call it briskness. Yeah. Dwayne, what's going on? Jesse, good to see you. All righty. Yes. Yeah, next door neighbor's puppy. He's a big puppy. And my puppy. Yeah. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, one and all. Monica, good to see you. Temaine, good to see you. All righty. Maxina. It's New Year. New Year 2020. Not only a new year, but a new decade. Wow. That's pretty amazing. Here we ease past 10 years in the blink of an eye, it seems like. From 2010 to 2020. Wow, when I look back over the years, the accomplishments that I really had hoped that we would have made over the last 10 years are not really there. And it's ironic. I saw Papa Smurf made a post about New Year, and it was basically saying that all of the issues that we faced in the past are still present when it comes to gun violence and wages and education and healthcare and all of these other things. Those issues are still present. So we're having New Year's and New Year's celebrations, but the old stuff is still here. And his closing remark was hoping that as we close out 2020 going into 2021, that we will really be able to have a new year where these things that we've been fighting for over the last decade and longer are finally resolved in this year. Things that are going to make life better for everybody. Leveling the playing field for prosperity in America, giving everybody a shot at the American dream from before kindergarten all the way up until senior citizen status, a respect for one another. This is the year where we have to do this. I saw another post by my good friend Shakim Aminaket. And Shakim said it's about time for by any means necessary attitude. And to be, oh man, good to see you, Ronnie. Ida B. Wells in the house, low end for life. Yes, sir. And it's about time, even though I've actually had that attitude for a long time, and those are the things that led me to run for office, that we talk about Malcolm and his phrase, by any means necessary, but when it really comes down to get the work done, to move into the needle, to getting to a place where we have a new year that really meets the criteria of being a new year where the old stuff isn't hanging on, too many people say by any means necessary, but they don't live out by any means necessary. That's why we have anemic voter turnouts. We have so many folks out here who talk about the system and complain about what's wrong with it and all of that. And I know those who say why vote or whatever, but we've tried that for a long time, and we've used that for excuse for a long time, and we see that nothing has changed because we haven't voted. So let's try the other side of that. If this is a by any means necessary movement, which I agree totally with Shakim, it's time for a by any means necessary movement. That means that every last person that's eligible to vote needs to be going to vote. And not just this year in the presidential election. Should have been in the last year's local elections, in the mayoral race, city council. Should have been in the midterms. Everybody out to vote by any means necessary, you see, because the old way, as Tupac said, the old way wasn't working. The old way of not getting involved wasn't working. And if we want to believe Malcolm and we want to believe Tupac, then we got to understand the old way wasn't working, and we need to try by any means necessary, which means getting out, getting people engaged, and getting people to go to the polls. Listen, let me put it this way. If you can get to the club, if you can get out to hang out, if you can go to your job, you can vote. Come on, somebody. And no, the incentive to go to vote is not going to be free drinks before 7 o'clock. No. The incentive to go vote is to see gun violence in your community turn around. Man, we had a shooting downtown, the first shooting of the decade in Charleston on Hanover Street early today. And as we closed out the year yesterday, in the middle of the day, we had a shooting in Goose Creek, a murder. It's my understanding as a juvenile. I don't have too much information on him. That cannot be the norm in our community, but it's becoming the norm. As I see my brother Elvin get on, it can't be the norm that we accept charter schools and school choice that's segregating and isolating children of color and poor children from the education it's going to take to keep them out of the prison system or the cemeteries or off the block. No. If we are really going to have a new year, then we need to make sure that during this new year, we do some new things. That the old stuff that's been holding us back cannot hold on. He was 20 years old. Yep. The old things that were holding us back cannot continue holding us on going into 2021. So that when we say Happy New Year on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day 2021, we can really mean it. Why? Because we didn't have an overabundance of gun-related deaths and gun violence. Because we didn't have people who in domestic situations felt that violence is a way of settling a problem. We didn't have unfair judges that are disproportionately sentencing people of color to prison time. We fixed it so that our children did not have to worry about whether their parents could afford a certain school in order to get a quality education, because every child deserves a quality public education. We can fix it so that universal pre-K is a reality, because it's a reality. The data supports it, that the earlier that we start actually educating our children while they're sponges, the more qualified and capable they grow up to be, and good citizens as they grow up. Healthcare for all. It's a darn shame. Or medications. It's a darn shame that people are going broke just because they got sick, or having to decide whether they can buy food or buy medicine. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And I mean, I was at a restaurant today. My wife and I went out to breakfast. Man, praise God for her. And the little time that we do get to spend together, it's been more lately than it has been in a while. And I'm going to give God the glory. And I thank everybody on here who has always encouraged me to step away from the community work, which is very hard for me to do, and to invest that more time with the family. But we went out to breakfast today, and I had a conversation with the young lady that was waiting on our tables about how she has to work 2 jobs just trying to live. and she's got a little one. So it's ridiculous that, especially in the hospitality industry with waitresses and servers, how their minimum wage is $2 and some change, and that hasn't changed in 2 decades. $2 and some change. So in other words, the only thing that they make is what they make off of tips. Can you understand? So I want y'all all to all think about that when y'all going to restaurants and carrying on and folks waiting on you. And sometimes the attitude be stank. I know it. We got to work on that too. But understand that those people are working, what they survive off of is tips. Can you imagine working an 8-hour job at $2.30 an hour? It's that $20 a day, and you don't get no tips? Come on, somebody. They deserve a minimum wage too of $15, and whatever tips they get, they should be able to take them home. That's the bare minimum in today's society. So looking forward in the new year, if this is really going to be a new year, we have to ask ourselves, what are we going to do to make the new year a new year? And the only way that we're going to make anything happen is by any means necessary. I quoted Frederick Douglass before in one of my lives. He said, power concedes nothing without demand. In other words, those that are in control of your situation, unless you demand them to do something, they're not going to do it. They're going to push you to the limit. They're going to use you to the limit. They're going to invest in you as little as possible in order to profit for themselves, unless you demand it. Power concedes nothing without demand. It never has and it never will. So it's time for, by any means necessary, to demand that power concede for the goodwill of the people. Now, when I say by any means necessary, I think you all know me well enough to know that I'm not talking about any violent overthrows or anything like that, okay? But there are mechanisms that we can put in place. Let's just say it was, let me use the example that I've used before of ants, okay? You got one ant out in the jungle, and he comes across an elephant that has died. And that one ant says, well, that's going to feed us for a little while. But he says, man, I'm just one little tiny ant. I can't do anything with this big old elephant. And so what does he do? He goes back to the ant pile. And he tells his homeboys and his partners and his family members and the whole community, yo, we got an opportunity for us to be able to live right for a long time. I need help. I can't do it myself. And the ants in the ant pile, instead of doing like we do and saying, well, you got it, or I'm going to get on Facebook or whatever. No, them ants say, man, let's do this. Let's make it happen. And they go out to wherever that elephant is, thousands strong. And they surround that dead carcass of that elephant. And then the one that found him, he counts. He says, when I count to 3, everybody lift. 1, 2, 3. And all of them ants up under that darn carcass lift. And they lift this 2-ton elephant up off the ground and carry him back to the hive in order for the hive to be taken care of. You see, that's what happens when we work together, when we understand by any means necessary is how we are going to win this fight. You see, because there are entities out here. Entities. There are paid politicians, for-profit politicians that are out here who we've elected to office. Some have been elected because we didn't go vote. Can you feel me? Okay. There are pastors who are no more than preacher pimps out here because they're 501c3 nonprofits that are supposed to be benefiting the community, but for some strange reason, everything always goes into the church and nothing ever comes out. Always got a building fund going on. Come on, somebody. We got folks inside of their own houses know that Ray and Pookie and them doing wrong out there in them streets. Sleep till 3, 4 in the afternoon, get up. Got a fly ride with fat rims on it. Wad of money. Ain't got no job. Leave out the house at 5, 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the evening. Don't come back till the sun up again. Yeah. I'm talking to somebody out here. It's time to stop this. It's time for us as a community to protect the hive, to protect the village, to make sure that if our educational system, I don't give a darn who's on that board. If they've been elected to office, then they need to do what we want them to do. Them darn backdoor sessions, what they call it, executive session. Saw that article about MUSC and their executive session. Man, we've been fighting about that problem for about 7 years. And ain't nobody come down to help us. Same pastors is out here always talking blah, 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 blah. And the same politicians out here blah, 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 blah. Me and a few more people down there at the board meetings, almost getting locked up a couple of times, trying to change it up so we have a voice, so the people have a voice. Because the conditions at MUSC for MUSC workers are worse right now than they were in 1969, when people had the guts to stand up and demand from the administration what they needed. Folks, in this new year, we need some guts. We need some folks to get up and demand, so that we don't just sit back and just take it anymore. I'm tired of I'm tired of looking around and I'm the only ant standing at the elephant. Let that sink in, you know. But everybody complaining. Everybody, it's depressing to look on. I'm gonna stay, Frey. I'm gonna stay on that battlefield. You can believe that, even if I am by myself. But I know there's some diehards out here that's fighting along with me. You know, for sure. But this is our opportunity, people. And I'm starting this year out in this manner, because for those that continue to perpetrate a fraud for our community because they have titles and whatever, you ain't gonna be able to hide between them cracks no more. You see, I ain't gotta play them games. I ain't got, and you ain't got to like me either. I saw in this last election cycle who believes in truth and who believes in lies. Pastors that support a lie, talking about they men of God, support a lie instead of speaking out against a lie. Yeah, I've seen it up close and personal. It's time for a change. And I'm tired. I'm tired of folks being bamboozled out here, hoodwinked out here. And the only people that are suffering are the people in the community. Not only in the African American community, but in the Latino community too. And in the Native American community too. People of color and poor whites suffering. You know, together we got enough ants to move any elephant that's in our way. And don't think I'm using that, not using that term elephant, you know, indiscriminately. No, that's calculated. I'm talking about an elephant because a lot of the problems we have is because of those who run the Republican Party. Yep, I said it. You don't like it? Live with it. That's my reality, okay? And your opinion might not be my reality. It's just a fact. And I know there are a lot of good folks that follow behind the Republican Party out there. Those who want to work along, seems like they want to work along with it. But as long as they go to the poll and they vote for people like Mitch McConnell, Tim Scott, Lindsey Graham, people who have a history of not working for the people of the community, if you vote for that person, you just as bad as that person. I don't care who you are. And that's why when folks see me, I don't really choose to work along with them people. You know, unless they do like some of them pastors did, you know, that I know that supported a lie. Come out and publicly apologize for that, you know, publicly. Shoot. Paul said, you beat me in public and now you want to apologize in private. Apostle Paul in the book of Acts. Yeah. So it's time. Yes, sir, Jesse. That's bad how people get so divided. It's time for us not to be. We've been divided for too long, far too long. It's time for us to come together. My job is to promote real unity and partnership within our community, because I'm only as good as we are together. I want everybody to get that in your hearts. We're only as good as we are together until we are working together. You see, the one issue does not outweigh the other issues because all of these issues are connected. Gun violence is related to education, which is related to economics, which is related to housing, which is related to flooding, which is related to our environment, which is related to voting, which is related to. It's all connected. So don't think that your one little issue is any more important than anybody else's issue. And it's time for us to stand together and to fight together to change this, people. This is the first day of the next 364 days of your life until 2021. And if we're going to have a real new year in 2021, we got to change some stuff in 2020. And it ain't going to happen with a bunch of Facebook ninjas. It ain't going to happen with a bunch of keyboard warriors. It ain't going to happen with us jaw jabbing and shuffling around and going along to get along. It's not going to happen. We're either going to fight or we're going to die. And it's not going to just be us dying, it'll be our children. And it's time for us to save our children. Period. We don't manufacture we don't have no coca plants in our community. We don't have no poppy fields. We got all the dope in the world though. We don't have no gun manufacturers in our community. We don't even have gun stores in our community. Got all the guns you would think about. You don't think that's by design? But if we don't step up to protect our own, ain't nobody gonna do it for us. Nobody. I just wanted to get on here tonight and just drop it out there. Now at the first day of the year. So see, when we get into about the 100th day or whatever, and folks out there ain't stepping up, oh, I'm coming back with it. Straight up. I'm not going to be silent. I'm not going to go silently into that good night. No. For those that ain't right, and you know, I reserve the for anyone who has issues about me or whatever, man, give me a shout out. Let's chop it up. We can fix that, you know. I tried to chop it up with dude that, you know, he tried to say that, you know, I got paid and all of this here. I invited him to the table just to talk. Coward won't talk. That's what cowards do. Anybody ever want to chop it up with me, just give me a shout out. Straight up. I got those who talked about my prison time like their prison time was greater than my prison time. That's about the craziest thing I'd ever heard. Who bragging over what you did in prison? Or even how you got there. It's crazy. It's time. Folks, I dropped it out there the other day. Anybody seen Dorothy Williams and Sam Hart? Since the election? November 5th. They've been out in the community. What about education? They've been fighting for education or whatever? Got any new jobs for anybody? Where they at? But you voted them back in the office instead of Jesse Williams that you still see right now. Did a live yesterday about the situation at Garrett High School. Been down there school board fighting for our children. Greg Perry, same thing. Been out in the community, still fighting. But we keep putting these dinosaurs in the office. And those dinosaurs, they ain't the T-Rex type dinosaurs. They them nice, friendly brontosauruses and carrying on, want to eat some leaves. Man, we need some meat eaters. Some people that'll get into office and demand the voice of the people be heard. In between, it's not working. It's not working. We see our communities going down, continually going down. Continually. And we turn around and we elect, a lot of time by acclamation because we didn't go vote. We elect people who allow our communities to go down. Man, I was so disappointed with Quadro Campbell representing Bernie Sanders, supporting those same candidates, those same people that won that election, Dorothy Williams and Sam Hart, who never stood for anything that Bernie Sanders stood for. Don't have a progressive bone in their body. And running against two progressive candidates, and Quadro came down and had Dorothy Williams and Sam Harding top billing. That's sick. That's detrimental to our community. For me, that's an enemy of our community. I ain't in here to win friends and or make friends. That ain't what I'm about. I'm about telling truth. Straight up. So it's time for change. I see Kevin Hollinshead is on here. It's time for us to get behind Kevin and what he's doing for school board. It's time for us to, it's going to be a big fight. He's up for re-election this year. It's going to be a big fight winning that fight, because you can believe them high dollar people going to put that big money out there trying to make sure that he don't win this election. And whoever else we might pick, they're going to put it out there. But let me tell you what, the power of the people at the ballot far supersedes and over any kind of money that they can put in this race. All we have to do is go to the darn polls. Quit letting these people punk us. Straight up. Next day after the election, we go back to suffering and they go back to rejoicing. Pockets fat up. And we ought to have a piece of that pie too. That's right. That's right. The economics in our community have not been nurtured by us. Well, by those that have been in charge and demanded by us. Everybody else circulates money within their community. All of the money that comes in our community goes right back out. It's got a 6-hour time span. White money, and I'm going to put it like that, white money circulates an indefinite number of times in the white community. They can't even track it. Latino money, I think it's like about 9 to 10 times in their community. Asian money, right around, I think it's like 14 or 15 times in their communities. I don't know about the numbers about Native Americans, but black folks, our money stay in our community 6 hours and go to everybody else, go to all them other groups. We got to stop doing that. We got to stop doing that. That's one of the reasons why at the rally, right, on the 20th, and I want everybody to make sure you got your calendar set. After the parade in Charleston on the 20th, on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, Monday the 20th, after the parade, right around 1:30, we'll be right there in Marion Square for the Coalition's 7th annual Martin Luther King Jr. Day rally. And one of the things we're going to do is we're going to honor a Low Country legend that many people would consider the Martin Luther King Jr. of the Low Country. Come out of Johns Island, a man by the name of Esau Jenkins. And I talked to the folks from the credit union that he started. He started the community-oriented Federal Credit Union like 60 years ago, or I think I got my numbers off, or even longer. But they're going to be at this event, especially since we're honoring Esau Jenkins, and his family will be there, and the mayor will be giving a little something out there that day. But the credit union, the CO Federal Credit Union, will be there with a table set up to represent, because it's time for us to begin learning how to circulate our dollars within our community. It's time for us to be empowered. It's time for us to stop reading about Black Wall Street and create Black Wall Street right here in Charleston County. Yes, sir, Abraham. Abe Jenkins, that's right. Abe is Esau's son. That's right. And Abe Jr. is the grandson, and Demet Jenkins is the granddaughter. Great people. And Kashia. Yeah, that family. So, here it is right now. Here's where we are. We've lost less than 24 hours, okay, into the new year. When I close out this live, I need for those that pray to pray, those that meditate to meditate, those who do like the dance and sing and hum or whatever. I need you to think about what you're going to do after this live in order to make a change in this world, in our community, this year. So that one year from now, when we celebrate 2021, Lord spare life, health, and strength, that we'll be able to actually talk about new things in the new year. Because the old things will have fought in order to move them out the way. Either we do it or we don't. And if we don't, God help our children, because we're throwing them to the wolves. We have the power to make the change. It's within us. And I know I probably stepped on some toes tonight, but I'll get over it. Get over it. Or give me a call. I'll meet you for coffee, tea, or a root beer float, and we can chop it up. Straight up. But there's going to be more people that are gathering under the banner of the coalition who are not going to settle. And even if you ain't part of the coalition, just decide you're not going to settle for second best anymore. We're not second-class citizens. We're not 3/5 of humans. We are full humans, entitled to all that comes with being a part of humanity, including a quality public education that's going to equip us for the better paying jobs as time goes forward. We need to demand trades back in our schools. We need to demand that the guns that are in our communities be gotten out of our communities, and that judges, when we go for them, that we get equal access under the law to fair treatment. We need to demand it. We need to demand it when we go to fill out a job application. If we've been up that road and got a number, that we ain't got to check that box on the first before the second interview. There's so many things where there's a false equivalency, where we look at what those founding folks wrote about people being created equal, and the reality is today, as it was then, we ain't considered equal because we ain't being treated equal. But I go back to Frederick Douglass once more. Power concedes nothing without demand. It never has and it never will. And if we don't demand that power does what we need done, if the school board doesn't do what we need done, and we need to demand it. If our city halls and our mayors don't do what we need to be done, we need to demand it. If our House of Representatives and senators at the state level don't do what we need done, then we need to demand it. If our law enforcement is not giving us fair treatment, then we need to demand it. If Congress or the White House is not doing what the will of the people is, we need to first off demand it, and then the White House, Congress, General Assembly, state legislatures, city legislatures, school boards, any elected positions, if they're not going to do what's the will of the people, vote them slap out. That's why it's important for us to go to the poll like ants. Like a bunch of ants. So it's time to get fired up, my people. It's time to get fired up. I was going to try to bring like one of those nice messages tonight, but I'm sorry, I just can't do it. Because I woke up today to the same problems that we sang Happy New Year, Happy Days, or whatever last night. But the same problems here today. The heck we rejoicing about? What are we rejoicing about? Brother downtown could have lost his life today because of gun violence. Somebody somewhere did. As a matter of fact, today, nearly 100 people across the United States died by gun violence. Today. Statistically, every day, nearly 100 people in the United States. It's time for a change, people. It's time for people not to have access to those weapons, who don't need to have access to those weapons. It's time for those who continue to fight against doing the goodwill of the people, like making sure we have quality public education, making sure that we have universal pre-K that's going to give our children a right chance at the American dream as they get older, making sure that we have trades back in our schools, because everybody's not college material, but there's a lot of people that can make six-figure salaries learning a trade as they have in the past. Making sure the legislation is going to limit access to guns for those that shouldn't have access to guns is passed. And that we begin to promote more responsibility within our own households. Ain't nobody getting no pass. If you can hit the club up, you can hit your house up. Straight up. Make sure that our employers are paying a decent wage for people commensurate with the 21st century, with 2020. It's crazy. Slave wages. And we just sitting back and saying, oh, I just need to get me another job. I need 2 and 3 jobs. No, what you need to do is fight for $15 an hour at least. $20 an hour. And they can't tell me it can't be done. It can't tell me. Man, somebody tried that trick in one of the forums that we had. And he's accustomed to saying that stuff and getting away with it. But I had to bring him to task on it and say, no, man. The data and that being done in other cities already, it doesn't support what you're saying. You're not just going to get no pass by saying, oh, it can't be done, it can't be done. Oh, yes, it can. If other cities are doing it, why we can't do it? It was just noted in the Post and Courier that 32 cities in America, as of today, are going up to $15 minimum wages. And that's a couple along with those other ones that have already increased. And if anybody says it ain't gonna work and you got all of them talking points about why it doesn't work or whatever, holler at your boy. I'll sit down and chop it up with you. And at the end of that conversation, you're gonna be sitting there saying like this. We didn't really know that much. We just listened to what they were saying. We didn't know that that's how it really works. Yeah. A little knowledge is dangerous. But a lot of knowledge is how we have success. And I'm willing to share anything that I got. Listen, I really appreciate you all. Thank you all for coming up. Yes, Barbara, welcome to New Change 2020. But that's a phrase, Barbara. Miss B, that's a phrase. Till we see it happening, until we start calling out these enemies of our community, and I don't care who they are, whether they're elected officials, preachers and pastors, school board members or whatever, until we start letting them know that we didn't get ready to have that foolishness anymore, it's going to continue. Because power concedes nothing without demand. It never has and it never will. Frederick Douglass was a very wise man. And so if you're with me, if you're rolling with what the coalition is going to be rolling with, we're going to start making some demands in this community as we begin to organize, because that's what it's going to take. It's going to take us to make sure that our priority becomes the community, the betterment and the safety and the security of our community. That we begin to learn how financial responsibility and how to circulate money and things that we traditionally have overlooked. How to care, how to be our brothers and our sisters' keepers. And also how to make sure that these churches in our community are working in order to better the community and not just talking about it. Okay. All right. Well, listen, I appreciate everybody for letting me bend your ear tonight. It's like a whole lot of people on board for this evening. I really appreciate you. No matter how the tone of tonight's message was, I'm still optimistic. Why? Because good people like yourselves are on board listening to this message, and you can take this message to other people and bring them in so we can begin to organize. I don't get paid for what I do. I never have. Those who told people that I got paid and that I got paid from Summit or whatever, I never got paid. When we had Somerville Christian Fellowship, the church that I founded, I didn't get paid for that. I didn't want to get paid for that. All the money that came in from the congregation went right back to helping people. All of it. So all them people that lied to whomever out there, y'all just understand. Go check them. Go check them. Go check Ramon Rome. Lying coward. Yep, I said it. Because I just don't have any tolerance or patience for liars. Period. Never accepted any money for anything that I do. So what we have to do is we have to keep on pressing forward, folks. And like I said, I thought I was just going to have a happy message, but it wasn't a happy message. But still in all, I am optimistic about this year. And this year is going to be a great year, because I do believe by faith that everybody on here is going to reach other people and that we're going to come together. We're working in Walterboro. We're going to start working up in Orangeburg, because we can't just fix what's going on here in Charleston County without thinking about what's going on in Colleton County and Orangeburg County and Horry County and Georgetown County and the counties that are around us. We have to think about it all together. Because if we don't, if we just fix here, then the folks that are there will come here and do us harm. So we have to fix everybody. We have to work at it. Listen, I love you all. If I stepped on any toes this evening, I'm sorry. Please accept my sincere apologies. If it's the truth, accept it and live with it. Do something about it. Get mad and do something about it. Not to me, but with the man in the mirror, the woman in the mirror. Look at that person in the mirror and do something. Make that change, as Michael Jackson said. Make that change. So listen, you all take care. I really love you all of you, every last one of you, even those people that I got issues with. I love y'all too, and all I want you to do is just do the right thing by the people, by the community. We got a community that's waiting on leadership that's been absent now for several decades. Now is the time for us to step up and get involved, and I see a lot of that leadership on this live right now, a lot of that leadership. So it's time to draw it out and get busy. Y'all with me? I hope y'all with me. Listen, y'all take care. Again, I was getting ready to say Happy New Year, maybe Happy Year or something. I don't know, but we'll work on that Happy New Year thing. Man, I love you all. Take care. Y'all have a wonderful evening. Peace.